Hey everyone, this is Scott from Forgot to Grow Up. Welcome to our Carnival Row Season 1 Thoughts video. I just finished watching the first season of Carnival Row on Amazon Prime Video, and I'm just going to be sharing my general thoughts. Carnival Row follows Philo, and Vignette, the Philo being an investigator investigating a series of murders that seem to be connected, and Vignette is a fairy refugee who just arrived in the Burg / Carnival Row, and her past with Philo kind of brings up some unresolved things as well as connecting into their future. So yeah, I just checked out this show and I really wasn't sure what to expect going into it. Besides, we get a little glimpse from the trailer of this kind of fantasy world that has some kind of mystery involved. But beyond that, I didn't really have much knowledge going into this series. So I was pretty curious to find out if I was actually going to like it or not. Based off the trailer, there was a little bit of there's some romance in it. That's all I'm gonna say. There's a little bit of romance and stuff, so I was a little worried. I'm like, oh, is this gonna go a little too maybe? I don't want to say Twilight, but I didn't like Twilight because of all the kissing and stuff. So, you know, so yeah, I was a little concerned whether this is gonna be, just a love story between these two lovers who had kind of been torn apart and then coming back together. And so watching it, I was glad to see that it wasn't just a love story. It wasn't just about a love story between people from, fairies and humans and stuff like that. So I like that it was more than that. I really enjoyed the story and the world they built around these characters for Carnival Row. I don't know if it's actually based off any previously made property or like a book or comic book or something that was already previously made, but the world did feel like pretty like made, if that makes sense. Like it felt as a whole, like I really felt like I was in this world. They did a really great job of bringing me into it, bringing outsiders into this world, introducing us into it, and kind of immediately getting this dynamic of we've got there are humans, then there are fairies, and there are some other things in the middle a little bit. It's a little, they don't exactly, they use a lot of names for this, like the Krite and Fairy and Fae, and I was having a little trouble keeping up with everything, to be honest. But that's sometimes happens with a fantasy thing. But I did really enjoy these fantasy elements, the way they kind of incorporated and brought into these different themes that you can just dive into so well with these fantasy tropes. So I thought they did a really great job with that. Like I said, it did surprise me that I enjoyed this world and the characters. I thought it might be going into it again, like I wasn't sure what to expect, so I had a lot of kind of preconceived notions in my mind, being like, oh, is it going to be like this, going to be like that, and I felt that they did a really great job kind of making it its own world, making me not feel like, oh, this is too Game of Thrones, this is too Lord of the Rings, this is too this, that. I thought they did a really good job of this distinguishing and making their own kind of visual and aesthetic style, as well as a good kind of unique way of storytelling, the way we're following these two characters and various other characters throughout this season. I just thought it was really well done. I thought it was really well balanced, the way they did balance both the two main character storylines and all the kind of secondary characters who kind of play into kind of progressing those two main character storylines as well. So I just really enjoyed I thought they did a really good job. This is a shorter season for seasons. It was only 8 episodes, which I thought was well done. If they had stretched it too much, which they probably could have if they wanted to. Netflix does it all the time, so why can't Amazon? But I'm really glad that they didn't stretch it out. They didn't make us wait longer for certain things. They had a story to tell, and I thought they did a pretty good job in the 8 episodes of introducing us to these two characters, giving us their background story, and then seeing where we're going with this in particular season. It is a mystery. It does focus a lot around these murders that Philo is investigating, and I thought it was really good. Like I said, I enjoy, or I didn't say this part yet, but I do like mysteries are one of those things that I'm hit or miss about, especially when you get into like, oh, it's just a investigator or a police officer investigating it. So when you get into these kind of weird different like fantasy tropes where it's like an investigator in a fantasy world, then it's a little more interesting to me, at least. So I thought they did a good job of kind of bringing me in and making it not too procedural, if that makes sense. This wasn't just CSI with fairies in it. It was, a balance of like I said, a fantasy and a mystery, the little romance, a lot of sex. But I feel that's just part of TV nowadays. But overall, I just still thought it was just really well done, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm really kind of hoping that they do a second season of this. I'm really curious to see where we go. But if they don't, it kind of also wrapped up in a way that I'm like, okay, I can take it from here myself if it is just a limited series, or if Amazon only decides to do one season, I can kind of take the story from where it ended off myself and go from there. But I also would be curious to see where we move from here going forward in this world with these characters. But yeah, that's all my general thoughts on the first season of Carnival Row. Be sure to let me know in the comments below if you're going to be planning on checking out Carnival Row on Amazon Prime, and if you had, what you thought of it. Please avoid any spoilers in the comments below. But thanks again for joining me today. Sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and have a good one.